Greetings. Information defense staff here with our traditional briefing. At the Lutsk military airport, 2 more bodies were found. Thus, the death toll has risen to 4. City Mayor Igor Polushchuk has informed that the airstrike was made possible because of the aircraft enthusiast who was a trader and who supplied the FSB with information about our airport and the movement of aircrafts. Captive Russian pilot Maxim Kreshtop announced that he made 3 flights over the territory of Ukraine, and during one of them he has dropped 4 tons of high explosive bombs on the residential buildings. At the same time, he knew that these were non-military objects, and he still carried out the criminal order. This is what he said today at the press conference. By the way, lately the parachutes of Russian pilots haven't been opening up at the time of ejection. Quite likely, this is arranged intentionally to make sure that the pilots won't be taken prisoner and won't be able to testify in future in court in The Hague. Moreover, information has been made public that a son from the occupied Crimea has been bombing his own mother in the Poltava region. Mother learned from the news that the plane was shot down and that the Russian pilot was taken prisoner. There have been news about the fact that the occupiers abducted the mayor of Melitopol, Ivan Fedorov, who refused to cooperate with the enemy. All in all, our Ukrainian mayors are in constant cooperation with their communities, and they have proven to be reliable and extremely responsible citizens. For now, the fate of the mayor of Melitopol is still unknown. According to the intelligence, Putin is preparing a terrorist attack on the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in the form of a man-made disaster that they want to blame on Ukraine. For now, Chernobyl nuclear power plant is completely cut off from IAEA monitoring, and it has no electricity supply. Russian occupiers won't allow Ukrainian repairs team to enter the nuclear power station. At the same time, Russia has blocked Instagram. Facebook was rendered unoperational earlier. Russian government keeps denying their citizens access to alternative sources of information. The evacuation from Izum to Lozova and from Borodyanka to Kyiv was sabotaged again. The delivery of humanitarian aid was a failure because of Russian occupiers constantly firing. When you hear the impressions of people that had been evacuating, or when you see the people that were brought to Irpin, it's painful to look at them. The executioners that are waging war in spite of all international conventions will be punished. The fights continue in Izum. It is still unknown whether there was a successful evacuation of people from Izum or not. Based on the data from the local government, since the beginning of Russian aggression, 1,582 civilians died. Despite all, Ukrainians stick together, work together, and help our military. The volunteers from our operations staff have delivered assistance for the 206th Battalion of Territorial Defense of Kyiv, medical supplies, masking nets, tactical gear, food produce. It's extremely moving when the military receive buns or crepes. They are very happy because they haven't had homemade food for a while. Marina Poroshenko handed over at the station of Kyiv subway, which has turned into a bomb shelter for thousands of Kyiv residents, warm quilts, covers, pillows, and sweets. At the same time, Kuzня-na-Rybальському plant has transferred their vessels to meet the needs of the armed forces of Ukraine. The armed forces of Ukraine forwarded a respective request, and already today these motorboats are serving the Ukrainian fleet. They are protecting our Odessa, which is extremely important for Russians. Previously, Kuzня-на-Рибальському terminated all the contracts and transferred machine guns to the armed forces of Ukraine. Deputies and volunteers of European Solidarity have organized in Zaporizhzhia 2 big volunteer centers. In both centers, they collect help and assistance from all across Ukraine and Europe in order to meet the needs of the military and the armed forces of Ukraine, of territorial defense units, and of Zaporizhzhia Military Hospital. We suggest that everybody who is willing to do so help our centers from different corners of Ukraine. The addresses and the contact information of volunteer centers are available on our official pages and websites. And on to the good news. Ukrainian military have annihilated the commander of the 29th Army of Eastern Military District of Russia, Major General Andrei Kolesnikov. The General Staff emphasized that our military are launching successful counterattacks in all directions. So Ukraine is getting used to living under military conditions. 12 regions of our country will be renewing the educational process in the long-distance format. This concerns the regions that are relatively peaceful. The Ministry of Economy of Ukraine, jointly with the governments of other countries, is looking for the mechanism to transfer to Ukraine the $415 billion of the seized gold and foreign exchange reserves of the Central Bank of Russia, while the Council of the EU has recognized European aspirations and the choice of Ukraine. It was suggested that the European Commission should provide its conclusions concerning the Ukrainian application for the membership in the European Union. And finally, about our sports victories. Ukraine has won 6 medals on the 7th day of the Beijing Paralympics, including 3 gold medals. All in all, our athletes have already won 25 awards, 9 gold medals, 10 silver, and 6 bronze. At the moment, we have secured a 2nd place in the overall ranking of the teams. We are keeping close tabs on international events, and as all Ukrainians, we expect a more decisive position on the part of European Union concerning granting us membership in the EU and granting us a simplified procedure of the accession to the EU. We are as if not given a no, but the expressions that seem as if offering compromise. They give us hope, but they're not resolving the issue in as speedy a manner as we need it, as the Ukrainian nation wants it, the nation that truly now protects the freedom of Europe. In the same way, the Ukrainian nation, which is now suffering under missiles of our enemy and aggressor, is expecting and waiting for what we call a no-fly zone. If our neighboring countries and the West helped us to close the sky, then there would be a much lower death tolls among Ukrainians who are protecting the democracy in the entire world. Now, as never before, we need to stand united. We stand in solidarity with the Ukrainian government. We stand in solidarity with the Ukrainian army. We stand in solidarity with the Ukrainian society. Only together we will be able to defeat the enemy. Glory be to Ukraine.
Не ділячись між собою, ми можемо подолати ворога. До зустрічі.
Все буде добре.
Слава Україні!